Hey there! Today I want to do something I have not done in quite a while. I want to just talk a bit without showing off all kinds of pens or reviewing pens or doing a shootout. But I used to do, especially when I started out, I used to do what I refer to for myself as general interest videos on pens. And today I want to talk about a topic on which I have received quite a couple of questions through the years actually, and that I also find very interesting. So if you're not interested in listening to me talk, don't have to watch the video. I'm not going to review anything, I'm not going to do anything, and I won't be offended if you stop watching now. Okay, now that they are gone, let's continue. I wanted to talk about sort of pen fashion, trends in pens, and also trends in general stationery, ink and paper. I think when you stick around in the fountain pen world for a while, you start to notice that there are specific trends that either come and go. Some trends are pretty linear, they kind of stick around and they don't really decline again. And I'll give you a couple of examples, and I'll also tell you why I'm going here. The reason I'm going here is that I actually got some questions from people who were a bit concerned about these trends, and I'll come back to that after I give you this illustration. I got really interested in fountain pens the end of 2010, and I started to do reviews at the beginning of 2011. And when I was doing that, there was one very specific trend, and that was flex nibs. Noodlers had just launched their nib creeper, and I think Goulet Pen Company was actually waiting for the second batch. That was the time that Mr. Nathan Tardif still hand-carved the feeds, the ebonite feeds, so that's long ago. And that was a trend. People all wanted flex nibs. I wanted a flex nib too. I was under the impression that if I were to get a flex nib, my handwriting would magically be copper plate, and that doesn't happen. Don't buy a flex nib thinking that that's going to happen, because it won't. It takes a lot of practice, and I still can't do it. But that was a trend. Flex nib, everything was flex. And flex has kind of stuck around, because you see these days, there's a whole bunch of Noodlers pens. There's also the I think excellent pens from Kevin at Fountain Pen Revolution. He does really nice things with flex nibs that you can buy. The pens are pretty affordable, also ebonite feeds, quite nice. But we tend to see that even the bigger brands are branching out into flex, right? So of course you always had the vintage pens that had flex. The vintage 14K nibs were often known for that. Waterman 52V, for example, very nice vintage pen, but it's kind of expensive. So then you have Noodlers and you have Fountain Pen Revolution, but now you see big brands branching out into flex nibs too. Of course, there was the Extra Flessibile nib from Omas, but Omas went under as a company. Visconti does it a little bit with the Palladium nibs, but some of those nibs are very rigid, others are much softer, but they are not really marketed as flex nibs, and I would also not treat them as such. But Extra Flessibile nibs from Omas, those were actually meant to be flex nibs. And then you got Aurora with their flex nibs. Of course, then Jovo started to do flex nibs, and you see that companies like Edison Pen Company, Franklin Christoph start to use those. I am pretty sure that Montegrappa's flex nib is a Jovo nib, because it has the exact same cutouts that the quote-unquote Edison and Franklin Christoph nibs, or the Jovo nibs, have. So all of that is a trend, right? There's a trend. The trend is we all want to do something with flex, because flex is hot. And there have been other trends too, especially when you look at inks. We have had a trend where everyone wanted to have shimmer inks. Diamine launched one ink after the next of all shimmer inks. I have nothing against Diamine, because Diamine blended my B.R.E. brown ink. But what I'm trying to say is that was another trend. Suddenly there was no shimmer ink, and then all of a sudden there was shimmer, and everything wanted shimmer, and there were tutorials online on how to make your own shimmer ink and what pens to use it in and what feeds you need and all that stuff. So that was a trend. And I think now that trend has kind of settled, and there may be occasionally a new shimmer ink, but to a large degree that trend has sort of settled a bit. Now we have sheen. We have sheen inks. Everything has to be sheen. Robert Oster, Fire and Ice. Oh, it has such nice sheen. Oh, it's a blue ink, but actually it's not a blue ink because it's red, because it has red sheen. I'm just poking a bit of fun here. There's nothing wrong with that, and definitely I'm not attacking Fire and Ice or anything. That's a superb ink, very nice. But people seem to really get into the sheen. Suddenly everyone's talking about sheen. Sheen, this sheen. Oh, is it blue sheen? Is it green sheen? Is it gold sheen? Oh, look at the sheen. And that's a trend too. And I would not be surprised if in half a year or a year from now, nobody's really talking about sheen in such a pronounced manner. Now here's the point of this story, because up to this point I've just been sort of rambling a bit, and it's like Grandpa recounts all the things that he has seen in the fountain pen world. And I'm not at all trying to be negative. What I'm trying to say is, it's interesting. I like to try and take a broader perspective once in a while and think about the way we think, right? And I am a psychologist, so that is kind of what I do. But I find that interesting. You reflect on these things and you see that these trends come and go. And you see that in a lot of things. You see it in fashion too. I'm sure you see it in watches one way or another, and you see it in fountain pens. But what's the real point? And that was actually the reason I wanted to make this video. I get emails from people, not on a daily basis, not even on a monthly basis, but through the years I've received this email probably 5 times a year. But people ask me, in a nutshell, is there something wrong with me? Because I hear everyone talk about flex nibs, but I actually like really rigid nibs. I hear everyone talk about shimmering inks, but I'm not sure they're safe for my pens. I don't want to use them. I'm not saying I'm saying that, I'm saying that they are saying that. I don't see the whole point about the sheen. Why is it? I just like washable blue. Does that mean, someone actually wrote to me once, does that mean that I am doing something wrong? Does that mean that I am not a real fountain pen lover? Does that mean that I'm not partaking of the whole fountain pen world and everything that the fountain pen business has to offer me? Here's the answer to that question. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You have to do what you want to do. And if you like flex nibs, then use flex nibs if it makes you happy. If you love shading inks or shimmer inks or sheeny inks, then use them. But if you only like to use black ink because that makes you happy, then use black ink. It really doesn't matter, okay? It doesn't matter. You're getting everything you want out of fountain pens as long as you're happy. And that's what matters, because it is supposed to be a fun hobby. And some people love shimmer inks, and they go out of their way to make new shimmer inks, and they make their own and they blend stuff and they show it, and that's great. That's wonderful. It's fantastic that this is such a wonderful crowd of people that is willing to do all that and go through all that trouble and put it online and make tutorials. That's great. But if you don't want to use that and you want to stick to washable blue, or you want to stick to Aurora black, or you want to stick to Noodler's Bay State blue, it doesn't matter. Just do what makes you happy. Alright? It's interesting. I find it interesting. I find it interesting to observe these trends. But just don't drown in the trend. You know, it can also be fun some days to be a bit of a rebel and to think, well, everyone's talking about shimmer inks, but I'm going to stick to my Waterman Florida blue, or mystery blue, or happy blue, or bluey blue, or blippity blue blue, whatever they call it these days. I do that perfectly fine. You don't have to worry about that at all. Alright? But have fun. And just look at it. Look at it like a fun trend. Like, oh, interesting. Shimmer, what's next? Sheen, what's next? I don't know what's next. Invisible ink, that may be next. Maybe number 25 nibs that are this long and you have to write in your pen like this. Maybe that's the new trend. It doesn't matter. They will come, they will go. And it's all fine. Just stick to what you like doing. And that, my friends, is all there's to it. So, forgive me for rambling a bit, but this was something I had to get off my chest. In no way am I complaining about anything. Everyone should use whatever they want. I do whatever you want. It's perfectly fine. I'm not upset about anything. I just want to make sure that you understand that you are actually free to do what you want to do. Alright? That's a very important thing. And that's it. I hope this was useful. And I'm glad to see you later. Bye bye.
Bye.